Hello friends, welcome to our meeting today. What is the most effective form of practice on the way to uncovering the non-dual self? Or we might rephrase that question and ask, how can we remove any difference between practice and life generally so that they are one whole, lived completely, where the light of non-dual wisdom guides our life and our life expresses the non-dual wisdom? These are important questions, and we can approach them by considering three forms of practice in life, which may all be seen as the culmination of the teachings. And these three are the practice of saying, not this, to all finite ideas that appear in the mind. Next, affirmative meditation. And finally, focusing entirely on what one is doing, being one-pointedly absorbed in whatever task and situation we find ourselves here and now. So, saying not this, affirmative meditation, and being totally absorbed in what one is doing. Let's consider their particular features, how they seem to differ, and then what they have in common, and how far they converge. First then, the way of negating all forms. In this practice, we carefully notice all impressions and thoughts that appear in the mind and say inwardly to them, not this, or a similar formula. Several principles at the heart of the non-dual philosophy are being applied here. The first is that anything that can be experienced as an object cannot be ourself. Any form that can be seen must be different from the one who sees. Any perception or conception, any thought, imagination, feeling is necessarily other than self. The next important principle underlying this practice is that what is rightly called our self is our consciousness, our awareness. Consciousness is the ultimate knower, the self of all experience. Here it is important to distinguish between consciousness and mind. The mind is made up of the thoughts, memories, ideas, and mental processes, which all have their individual qualities and constantly change, and which we observe or experience. Consciousness is the inner light of awareness that never changes and reveals all experiences equally, and is never itself something experienced. In principle, the difference between mind and consciousness is clear, and yet it is a defining feature of the human situation that in the unillumined state, where much of life is past, the distinction is not made between the conscious self and the mind. The unenlightened human condition is the experience of being identified with the mind and bound by its limitations. The way to self-realization is to become aware of this condition and to free ourselves of identification with what is limited through knowledge of our true self as the consciousness which reveals and transcends all finite experience. This is another principle behind our practice. In reality, we can never be separated from ourselves. Logically, this is clear and certain. We can never really be different from what we are, our true nature. The experience of being apparently separated from self as pure consciousness only comes about because our sense of identity has become invested in the mind. When the experience, I am the mind, dissolves, nothing obscures our real self as absolute consciousness. And here we come to the positive aspect of the practice. Saying, not this, to all finite forms, implies that we are that which observes and transcends them. This is true, and we wish to affirm it. But if we assert it in words, or try to conceive of ourselves as a universal supervisor, we are of course attempting to create a mental image of self and objectify it. So we have to resist the temptation to say or think too much. The most direct way is to say, not this, to the mental forms, and thus to be that which transcends them. So this would seem to be the culmination of the teachings and the most effective practice, would it not? Let us now consider another approach to self-discovery, the way of affirmative meditation. In this, we take an expression of the non-dual wisdom and embrace it with one-pointed intuitive trust. This trust is well placed because the focus of meditation comes from an enlightened source beyond the limitations of the individualized mind. One-pointed concentration comes with recognition of the supreme beauty and value of what is indicated. So we meditate on expressions such as, one ocean of consciousness exists, all light, all bliss, ever abiding, that am I. In meditation, we turn with all our inner strength to the focus. We do not question or analyze what is said. We absorb all our faculties in it. And if the mind wanders, we don't follow it or ask why. We just go straight back to the meditation. There is a time for philosophical thinking. It is important, but it is not at the meditation time. The foundation of meditation is the intuitive certainty that absolute reality comes before the mind, that the real is ultimately everywhere and everything. When this is our conviction, the best response to distractions is not to be distracted by them and to remain focused on the self-luminous truth indicated in the meditation. We gain the intuition that the real is real and that is myself through listening receptively to the pure non-dual teachings, reflecting on them by looking for the same conscious self in everyone and expressing this recognition in our actions. When we have climbed the ladder to the point of intuitive certainty, we need not revisit the steps and slips on the way. We turn completely to contemplation of the unchanging reality, self-luminous, all-sustaining, where there is no otherness. Again, this practice avoids the temptation to say too much, to say what is contradictory. Only the real is real. Anything else is not absolutely real and could only arise from mental limitations. This is true, and we wish to affirm it. If we ask where appearances and wrong identification come from, or how they relate to the real, we are giving appearances their own reality and separateness. The most direct way is to continue the affirmative meditation on the self-shining, inseparable, unnegatable being of all. So this would also seem to be the culmination of the teachings and the most effective practice, would it not? Now, let us consider a third way of bringing together the non-dual wisdom. To live with our mind and heart fully engaged in where we are and what we're doing here and now. One might ask, would this mean not learning from experience or preparing for the future? No, it is to be fully aware that now is the end of the past and the beginning of the future. To live fully in the present is to have assimilated the lessons of experience and to know that the future can only be shaped by the choices and efforts we make now. We might ask further, if we simply focus on what we're doing, are we not ignoring the great philosophical lessons we have learned about the difference between appearance and reality? If we're driving or writing or washing or whatever, is it enough to be fully absorbed in that here and now? Is it not necessary also to affirm that the mind is not the self and remember the great truth that appearances are deceptive and that there is one ultimate reality self in all? Let's think about this. The mind is to be focused on the present situation, whatever it may be. If irrelevant and distracting thoughts appear, they are dismissed and attention restored in the here and now. Does this mean that there is one who transcends and observes the mind? Yes, friends, it does. But is this supervisor of the mind also a something of which we are conscious? If it were, the question would arise, who is observing that observer? And there would be infinite regress. The one who knows the mind is consciousness, and as we have often noted, consciousness cannot be an object to itself. One can say that the mind has various elements, including a discursive aspect which asks and compares, and an incisive part which wills and understands. In theory, the mind can be analyzed in this way. In practice, these mental capacities function together as a closely integrated whole. If the whole mind is focused on what matters here and now, is it also necessary to remember and think about the one consciousness that underlies all experience? Is that not another thought which tends to make consciousness into an object? Why make life more complicated than it has to be? Thoughts such as one absolute consciousness exists, or there is one self-luminous self in all, are correctives which are necessary to negate confused ideas like matter is all there is, or my body is myself. If delusive thoughts are not present, the corrective is not needed, and the highest affirmation is to be here now, with the mind on task. Living in this way implies no judgment about the reality status of the phenomenal world. To be and to act in the present moment does not imply that action belongs to the ultimate self. It is simply to acknowledge that the mind is inseparably associated with the ever-changing phenomenal world. We know that in the world, action is unavoidable. To do nothing is also an action with consequences. We know that the real can never be negated and will never disappear. We know that appearances were never more than appearances. So, to keep the mind free of unnecessary thoughts, focused on what matters here and now, no more or less, is the fulfillment of the teachings, is it not? We have found that all three of our practices seem to be the culmination of the non-dual wisdom. How can we reconcile this apparent contradiction? We remember that they are all practices, and as such they are means to an end, not the end in themselves. They are applied when there is a need. What is the need in each case? When we find ourselves identified with our mind and moods, if persistent thoughts distract us, or we are happy and hoping it will never change, then to say, not this, not this, effectively reaffirms that no thought or mood is our true self. Thus saying not this, also affirm that what we experience through the mind is not absolutely real? Yes, it does. But this needs to be carefully understood. It does not mean that there is no reality, that there is no need for care or dedication. On the contrary, it means to live with heightened care and dedication. To say not this to the forms is to assume our right identity as the light above and within the mind. This brings us to the practice of affirmative meditation, which proceeds from right identification and recognition. Affirmative meditation is needed when we are intuitively certain that the real is unchanging and self-luminous, and yet we still find our vision sometimes clouded by old patterns of thought and feeling. These distractions are best overcome by turning always in the direction of the meditation. If we know that stray thoughts are just stray thoughts and nothing more, they are rendered transparent and weightless by continued affirmative meditation on what is immediate and unchanging. How then are the teachings best applied while we're occupied in practical tasks, as we have to be much of the time? This is precisely when the need is to engage the whole mind in what is here and now. Although it is simple in principle, we know that this is really a high-level practice. Our mind is constantly drawn away from the here and now by there, then, by attraction and aversion, essentially by hope and fear in countless forms. In particular, there is a natural concern with what the outcome of actions and current happenings will be for us. The need is to be freed of this primal attachment to the results of action. And so ideally, while we are continually doing, we are simultaneously letting go of what is done. In this way, our actions become offerings. And when something has been offered, it is no longer ours to worry about. Letting go of anxiety about results is not this, expressed in action. And then all action, all that happens, is experienced through the inner stillness by unchanging self-luminous awareness, our true self. So we find that our three practices, not this, affirmative meditation and be here now, are not really separate. They form a tripod. As we know, tripods are the most stable and adaptable of all supports. And the three elements converge at the apex where each implies and contains the others. We can extend and apply any of the three limbs whenever there is a need to restore our balance. Sometimes passing imperceptibly from one to another as the need arises. Sometimes consciously choosing to practice one in particular for a given period of time. And we can be sure that when the need has gone, so too will be any baggage we have been carrying to meet on our needs on the way. Now, let's spend a little time consolidating these liberating skills together. Firstly, not this, not this. So make sure you are comfortable and alert. Now, look within and carefully observe any thoughts or feelings that appear in the mind. As soon as you notice, say to them inwardly, not this, not this. You will find this method most helpful if you do it with all the care and attention you can manage. It is not a passive state, but an acutely active one, opening up new horizons. So attend carefully and not this, not this. Not this, not this. Now we come to affirmative meditation. And our focus today is I am the light of the mind. The world is revealed in me. Pure, infinite, bliss absolute is myself. Absorb your attention in what is indicated here. You are the awareness in the mind. This is clear. The world of experience is revealed in you, the conscious self. This is the simple truth. This conscious self is transparent, boundless, totally free. Yes. Distracting thoughts don't lead us away. We go straight back to the focus. I am the light of the mind. The world is revealed in me. Pure, infinite, bliss absolute is myself. I am the light of the mind. The world is revealed in me. Pure, infinite, bliss absolute is myself. I am the light of the mind. The world is revealed in me, pure, infinite, bliss absolute is my self. Pure, infinite, bliss absolute is my self. Before we take up again our roles and responsibilities in the world, let's take a moment to appreciate how much we all receive from the world around us. Everything that nature gives us, also the people who produce our food, sustain the essential services, and all the innumerable others. Let's remember this fabric of mutual support and how entirely we all depend upon it. Now, let us extend thoughts and feelings of unconditional goodwill and cooperation to all living beings. Thank you for being with me.